Hi guys, I'm with Ella from Binance Labs on the sidelines of a conference in Singapore. Ella, very happy to have you in Singapore and on Decrypt Asia.
Thank you, Tushar. Hi, everyone. It's my honor to be here and share something that you're interested in, maybe Tushar is interested in.
Thank you. I know you have a very interesting background, and I've read a blog post as well in terms of your story and your transition from Stanford Business School into what you do now. Could you talk a little bit about your background and how the transition into Binance and Binance Labs happened?
Sure. Before Stanford JSB, I have a relative longer working experience than the normal MBA student. I started as an engineer at a telecom company, and then I become a business operator working on product marketing in Tencent and Google, and then became a venture capitalist, joining Kleiner Perkins to do invest. And then I went to Stanford JSB post the MBA. I was exploring what matters to me the next, and then Binance opportunity came up to me. I know the founders for a while, and know their passion and mission just impressed me. That's why I joined Binance Labs.
Right. So I saw from your website and a couple of other places as well, you describe Binance Labs as a social impact fund. So I want to understand a little bit more about what the mandate of the fund is and what are you trying to achieve with Binance Labs?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
So at Labs, this initiative actually started from the founder's vision that Binance future success will based on the thrive of the entire industry and ecosystem. So from the beginning, they started Labs to help the best, the top projects to grow. From the investing point of view, of course, we're not a nonprofit. We care about the performance, but so the ROI and return, immediate return, let's say the short-term return is not our only mandate, but to help the top project to grow is actually our top priorities. So how we evaluate our performance at Labs is to how many projects you actually contribute to and helped with, and how many positive impact and outcome you get, you created from helping those projects.
Yeah, and do you have a way of quantifying? I know a lot of funds in general are becoming very data driven. Do you have a way of quantifying the impact that you have, or is it more qualitative?
I think it's so Binance Labs, to give you a little bit more context, it's started April last year.
Sure.
It's only a 1 year of investing organization.
Yeah.
So, investing, if you use 1 year metrics to judge, it's very short term.
Absolutely.
And it's very hard to have the quantified result in performance. So what we actually look into is that how many good projects we sourced, and we help them to grow.
Yeah.
And of course, different people have different benchmark on a good project, but we saw it in general. Like for example, from Labs, we helped Binance to source the Trust Wallet, which is become an official wallet of Binance now, and also we incubated now 22 very, very good top projects and help them to bootstrap and find the product market fit. And we now have overall 35 portfolios now, and some portfolio get the liquidity in the market and perform very, very well. Those are the quantitative metrics that we can get exactly to judge the performance.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly is that at Labs we do incubation, direct investment, and also now this year we launched the fellowship program. We really want to establish a very hardcore and helpful network to connect all the blockchain and crypto believers,
Yep.
Developers, open source developers to help the whole ecosystem grow. I think for that part, it's need a little bit longer time to well establish that.
Sure.
So that part is a little bit more qualitative. I think.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's what I was trying to get to as well, because a lot of the impact investment funds, and I think that's been a trend, especially with a lot of family offices these days, want to invest not purely for returns, but also to have some sort of a positive impact, whether it's a positive impact in a particular part of the society or a particular industry. But I think what at times a lot of these impact investment funds, it's a little bit difficult for them to quantify the social impact that they're having. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at the Stanford GSP, I actually took the class to talk, which taught about a social impact fund, and we have a very closely discussion with our professors who was also running a social impact fund. It's very, very hard to judge, and also very hard to motivate and incentivize the team members in longer term, because there's a lot of people just left the social impact fund in 1 or 2 years.
Sure.
So I think the key thing is to find the right people who care about the impact you are making, you're creating at the current fund the most.
Yeah.
So we find the people who are crypto OGs who really care about the success of crypto and blockchain industry, or we found people who really, really care about making social impact. In that way, they can work a little bit, like they can look into the projects in a little bit long-term vision.
Sure.
That's how we can kind of build up a solid team.
Yep.
At
Yep.
Labs.
Yep. So you mentioned different numbers. So you mentioned 35 companies, but you have 8 companies as part of your season 1.
Season 1 incubation. We incubated 8 projects.
Yeah. But you also have the fellowship. So I just want to understand how you guys are structured. I know it's still only a year old, right? So you said the labs was only established in April 2018, and I'm sure you have a little bit of. I think things will evolve over a period of time, but just for clarity for the audience, so you have an incubation program. Do you have a set timeline in terms of how many cohorts you'll have or how many programs you'll run on a yearly basis?
Yeah, the thinking process was actually very interesting. I would love to share how we kind of evolved to today, after 1 year established the team. So in 2018 April, we officially established the team. But I started as a pure VC thinking. My thought is still focused on how to establish the fund, what's the fund structure, what's the legal structure, what's the LP structure, what's the mandate. And I discussed all of those proposals with CZ. And CZ's response was very interesting. He said, so difficult, so much complicated things. Why not you just start from looking to the best project?
Right.
I think it's right. Yeah, we don't need a very complicated fund structure to start with, and we start to look into those good projects.
Right.
And after the team investing in some project for a while, for a few months, it was actually at the market hype back then, from April to July and August.
Yeah.
Even though we have the kind of right resources to back into the then best project, still the very super high valuation is hard to be justified.
Sure.
To be justifiable. For me, I represent Kalana Perkins looking to the China market. Yeah. When you look at the consumer app, you really count millions of users, and the growth to tens of million users and hundreds of million users. Yeah. It's a very exciting number. But back into crypto, it's really tens and hundreds and mostly thousands of users.
Sure.
So I deeply feel there's a hype in the valuation,
Right.
and the investment cannot be justified.
Right.
So in July, August, we have deeply reflection. We feel there's something we should do for the industry
Right.
to justify the valuation for investors, and also we see the distraction for the good founders.
Yeah.
Because of it's so easy to raise money, there's easy to be distracted from focus on building.
Sure.
And a lot of fancy projects have a very good technology, but also lack of product market fit.
Sure.
Those are the two problems cause us to really think about how to do right impact to the ecosystem. So we launched our incubation program in September 2018.
Yep.
And the incubation program is to just provide the environment and platform to let the good founders focus on building,
Yep.
and also give them the reasonable valuation. And also we emphasize a lot on the product market fit.
Yep.
This is a reason we established the incubation program.
Yep.
And then after running our first season of incubation program, we still feel there's something missing in the industry, because we saw a lot of open source projects. It's very, very hard to find the immediate business model.
Sure.
For them, but they are solving very critical technical problems in the blockchain technology.
Yeah.
They are solving the roadblocks. That's why we initiate our fellowship program, which is a pure grant program, just to give the small but enough stipend to the open source developers, just to help to support them to focus on solving those problems. This is why where we are now. We have the 3 initiatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you mentioned that the companies in your first season are solving some problems that are very relevant, right? So I kind of went through the 8 companies that were part of your first season. You've got accounting solutions, prediction markets, wallets, single sign-on companies. You've got some privacy solutions, a DEX.
You did your research.
Absolutely, always. I want to understand a little bit, and so these are the 8 companies that were part of your first season, but then you have some portfolio companies as well, which are listed on your website. And I mean, for someone who's not, this is probably my first interaction with Binance Labs directly. I'm not 100% sure in terms of what your focus is, right? I mean, in terms of the different things that you're trying to do, I understand. You're trying to solve some pertinent problems, scalability, privacy, and then the infrastructure, right? So DEXs, wallets, payments, single sign-on into dApps. But I just want to kind of understand your broader kind of overall portfolio construction or overall thesis in terms of how you go about thinking in terms of creating your portfolio.
Yeah, that's also a very good question around our investment thesis.
Sure.
So we actually have 3 dimensions. The first dimension we start to dive into was the critical problems, which are potentially the roadblocks of to push the ecosystem and industry to move forward. So those problems are mostly focused on the blockchain technology itself.
Yeah.
For example, the scalability problem, the interoperability problems, the securities problems. Those are the very hardcore problems.
Yeah.
And another dimension is, of course, how to reach the mass adoption. So from that, we look into the applications. We have certain like verticals we identify or we believe are the low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
For example, the financial services industry, especially in those developing countries who kind of lack of the financial services infrastructure.
Yeah.
And also, for example, the gaming or digital content projects which are the assets are very easy. Virtual assets are easy to be tokenized.
Yeah.
So those are the other dimension we look into our investment.
Right.
Another dimension is that we believe in the first wave of the real adoption will not happen probably in a well-established economy, but in a developing economy. So we kind of look into those applications or infrastructure projects in Africa and Latin America region.
What happens after the program is over?
Yeah, so after the program's over, we're still following up, help them to do further fundraising, or once they launch the product officially, want to go to carry out the go-to-market strategy, need to talk to potential customers, so we still help them to bring in the critical resources.
Right.
Yeah.
And in terms of your investment thesis, I mean, I think it's only been a year, and from an investment perspective, that's too short of a time period to kind of evolve your thesis. But at the same time, the crypto industry moves fairly quickly as well, relatively. Has your thesis evolved over a period of time in terms of the following cohorts that you're looking at, the kind of teams that you're on the lookout for, or the kind of problems that you think need to be solved? You mentioned gaming, you mentioned financial services, you mentioned things like digital content. Those are kind of the low-hanging fruits. I think there's still a lot of work to be done as far as these domains are concerned.
Yeah.
But beyond that, do you see any sort of gradual shift in terms of your investment thesis, or is it for the most part pretty much the same still?
No, it's actually shifted a lot.
Okay.
From the beginning, as we're focused on the first dimension, which is solving the critical problems, we actually look into a lot of infrastructure level projects, which are the technical driven projects. But after we dive into those vertical, we're still looking because those problems are still existing.
Sure.
But not all the projects solving those problems have direct business model. This is also a lot of projects nowadays they're struggling.
Yeah.
So we kind of, from this investment point of view, we kind of shift those investment into fellowship program.
Yeah.
We can still support them to solve the problems, but we won't invest at a very high valuation.
Sure.
That's not make sense to us. That's a kind of learning from the market. And also for those the apps that say they are trying to bring the users into crypto. We started from looking to those very small the apps and good founders, but as time shifting, we actually this will be changed again, I think.
Sure.
But now, I personally believe, or some of my other teammates also believe, that we back those projects to have certain user bases. So it's easier when they launch the feature to adopt the crypto, like BitTorrent, like Contentos.
Sure.
They have like billions of downloads.
Sure.
It's easier for them to bootstrap kind of the initiative, the product. This is also another shift.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, and overall, I mean, if we kind of zoom out in terms of your broader outlook on the industry in general, where do you think we are, or are you still positive? I mean, I presume you're still super positive. I am, but what are your thoughts on the industry in general? I think the kind of the market downturn weeded out a lot of players who were kind of like quote unquote tourists, as the cliche goes. They've kind of left the industry. I guess if there's another run up in the prices, some of those people will come back, which is okay, I think, in my opinion. I just want to understand your views on the industry as a whole and where we're headed.
Yeah, I think, as you said, I'm super positive that blockchain and crypto will eventually make a huge impact in human society and human's life. But I don't expect the mass adoption will happen in very short term. I'll say it's 3 to 5 years, or even longer, 5 to 10 years.
Sure.
I don't have the exact number. I cannot do that prediction, but I think it's pretty long term. Still have a lot of problem to be solved. But there's definitely bubble. Last year, and it burst,
Yeah.
it's good. It's a very good thing.
Right.
And because now you see more people, they are purely focused on solving problems, and the people who just want to earn the fast money, who are speculators, just left, which is a good thing. The environment is become more focused.
Yeah.
And it's actually for long term, I'll say the ups and downs of the market is very normal. If you look back into 2000 where the internet bubble burst, where the Nasdaq dropped from 5,000 index from 5,000 to 1,000.
Yeah.
There are more than 5 trillion USD dollar value lost in the global equity market.
Yeah.
But at exactly during that time, search engine startup like Google get tractions, and Nasdaq used 15 years to recover. But during the 15 years, there's so many great companies like Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, Baidu, Facebook. Those companies just emerged.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's very normal for the market fluctuation, but still, us as early believers in the industry, we have to be super patient and calm to see this market fluctuation and focus on what we believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I mean, I heard this quote recently which said, "The rougher the sea, the calmer the calmer you need to be."
Yeah.
And I guess that's a very relevant kind of saying in crypto.
Yeah.
I think before we wrap up, what's the best way to, if there are any entrepreneurs that might be listening and want to apply to be part of Binance Labs, what's the best way to get in touch? Is it from binancelabs.co or?
So we have this is a little bit confusing. It's have some history because we wanted to quickly launch the application interface online. So binancelabs.co is actually the interface for incubation application.
Right.
But we have our official website under the Binance.com.
Labs.binance.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can find actually all the application interface through the labs.binance.com.
Okay.
The fellowship application, the direct investment application, and also the incubation application.
Okay, awesome. I think that's a good note to end the interview on. Ella, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know it's been a long couple of days for you, but thank you so much.
Teacher.
All right.
Thanks for your invite.